Good morning, everyone. We are Sofía Castañeda, Ricardo Mejía, and Paula Mendez from Universidad de los Andes, and we would like to talk about our case study, Participatory Construction of Futures in the Defense of Human Rights.
Just to give you some relevant context, in 1991, the modification of the Colombian political constitution changed from a religious government to a rule of law country. This change has allowed the country to have policies to protect the rights of people, including minorities. One of these minorities is the LGBT population, integrated by lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, and who, thanks to the Constitutional Court, have been granted rights such as civil marriage, adoption, legal protection against discrimination in labor, and heritage rights. Nevertheless, there are still some manifestations that defy the ground rules provided by the Constitution of Colombia and withstand the regulatory work made by the Constitutional Court. An example is the proliferation of anti-human rights messages by those who persist that the religion and the moral ideas should prevail over the constitutional terms provided by the law.
Considering this situation, Colombia Diversa, an NGO that has dedicated important efforts in the area of research and strategic litigation, foresees a potential future rooted in a state based on religious morals and not on the Constitution. This image of the future will translate, according to them, into a social setback in terms of the rights obtained for the LGBT population. This case study explores how three representatives of Colombia Diversa and a group of 8 designers with diverse backgrounds and expertise work together alongside to speculate about plausible futures through a collaborative approach.
Due to the fact that the problem relies on the exploration of futures, we use speculative design as an approach to develop a participatory design case study. Speculative design focuses on the envisioning of alternative future used as a new perspective that transforms beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors of human beings, and thus develop imaginative and reflective capacities to challenge the present situation. This approach allows the free exploration of opportunities using design as a language to ask questions, provoke, and inspire context. The exploration of alternative future allows us and Colombia Diversa to understand the possible context where the organization should navigate and imagine different strategies that allows them to overcome the possible difficulties from a critical construction. Within speculative design, we use DIVE, Design, Innovation, Vision, and Exploration, a design futures technique that helps people and organizations to create and share prototypes of the future and thus reflect on the current situation. The technique consists of a quick dive into the depths of speculative futures and a swim back to the world as it is. Initially underwater, the organization is seen as a fish that swims in calm and troubled waters. Designers then accompany the divers in envisioning future waters and defining a vision. Using this vision as an inspiration, participants draw, make prototypes, and create stories to set up the vision concept, resulting in a road prototype and a video. Finally, on land, the designers use these artifacts to spark a conversation among several people about the future of the fish, shining a light on the decision-making in the present.
As a result of the analysis, we uncovered that Colombia Diversa faces a society with two possible contexts. On one hand, a society headed by a secular government, and on the other hand, a society under a religious government. In both cases, the role of the individual in the society is determined by the influence that the government, the religion, and the media has on their lives. We define the domain of this investigation as political incidents for the defense of human rights. We also established the year 2029 as a time horizon just for allowing us and the NGO to imagine possible futures, taking into account the obvious changes of the Colombian government, but also keeping a level of certainty by not being so far away in the future. Within this domain and in this time horizon, we discover several demographic, economic, environmental, political, and social context factors that help us define the framework in which these futures will develop. This is represented in 2 videos.
The first video explores the loss of individual identity and the limitation of freedoms imposed by the government as a control strategy. On the second video, the interaction occurs between politics and the media, a hyper-connected and hyper-controlled world that does not allow individuals to have a disconnected daily life. Here, the excess of information is used as a control strategy. Both videos try to imagine the intersection between politics, the media, and moral affiliation. These stories were used to give us context to formulate a future vision. The future vision allows us to expand the scope of action of the organization as one that needs to take care of not only LGBT citizens, but also citizens that belong to other well-identified minorities in Colombia. We name these minorities diverse citizens. Taking into account this vision, we formulated two prototypes to represent the possible roads that Colombia Diversa could take under this scenario. In the first prototype, the existence of Colombia Diversa itself is tested, as it can no longer exert its influence exclusively through strategic litigation, and must reinvent itself in order to continue defending the rights of diverse citizens. In the second prototype, we propose the development of community networks to protect the rights of individuals through collective action, replacing the current top-down strategy of Colombia Diversa. These prototypes sparked a conversation between the NGO representatives and some of the experts, helping us map the future of Colombia Diversa and to expand its range of action to cover plausible futures that were not taken into account by the NGO.
As you have seen, we have made use of prototypes, images, and narratives to help participants express their thoughts, feelings, and ideas about the future of the organization. As part of the analysis that we made in this stage, it seems that Colombia Diversa should continue to litigate and research, but also needs to focus on working and communicating directly with the communities. We suggested to expand its range of impact from the LGBT population to address the needs of other minorities in a new perspective of diverse citizens. To materialize this change in the proposed time horizon, we worked on a participatory road map to help visualize the future actions of Colombia Diversa. In this process, the NGO representative focused on building communities by using exclusively information and communication technologies. Afterwards, we realized that this roadmap could mislead the purpose of reaching communities, as communication itself is not enough to change the future. Therefore, we proposed to the organization to make some changes in terms of internal and external operation and strategy to address the challenges that this change of paradigm represents. This final step helped us formulate concrete actions into a work plan.
In general, it seems like integrating a speculative design with participatory design produces alternative images of the future, co-created from diverse perspectives, that could be more comprehensive and richer by collecting more and more diverse opinion about this alternative future. Instead of just talking with the decision maker, as is standard in other future studies techniques, conversing with diverse people combine external and internal perspective of the current situation of the organizations and the context, informed by literature review and observations. Despite the fact that DIVE is a powerful instrument for the NGO representatives to think, talk, and act about the future by unfolding comprehensive prototypes and videos, there are certain constraints of this methodology. DIVE is a technique especially designed for small businesses, and although it worked well in the case of Colombia Diversa, it would be interesting to explore how DIVE works in large environments, for instance by involving members of the LGBT community or other minority. It is evident that this is a little presence of LGBT stakeholders in the design process. Due to the fact that this exercise was developed in an academic context, large-scale participation was not possible to implement. Still, this exercise could be strengthened by involving members of this community and other minorities so that they may feel represented within the exercise, and also by Colombia Diversa in regards to the guarantee of their human rights.
Thank you very much for your interest in our presentation. We hope you enjoyed it. Have a nice day and a great PDC 2020.